Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your patience. Mondays are special days, but today is particularly unique in that I'm sad to say that my mom is back in the hospital, and she got there late on Thursday, and it's been a challenging weekend, to say the least. But all of that, dealing with life's issues and the prospect of mortality and reliving all the joy and complications of childhood has nothing on what has been going on in the media. And specifically, guys, so today's lead story is about ABC News, specifically that they decided ABC News, which is owned by Walt Disney Corporation, ABC News, I should take the word news out of their name, has decided to capitulate, to do what Tim Snyder says never to do. Tim Snyder, Yale historian and author of the book On Tyranny, historian who has spent his life's work studying authoritarian regimes, says, do not obey in advance. And I think perhaps what ABC thought that meant is don't obey Tim Snyder in advance. You see, I thought it through. It must be one of those sort of paradoxical circular puzzles. So they didn't obey Tim Snyder in advance, but they did obey the authoritarian Donald Trump regime in advance. Let me be specific here. What you may remember is that ABC News sued Donald Trump because ABC News had sued Donald Trump in connection with a statement that George Stephanopoulos made after Donald Trump was found liable for, among other things, sexual abuse in the attack on and the sexual assault attack on E. Jean Carroll in a dressing room at Bergdorf Goodman in the early 1990s. And what you may also remember is that under New York law, sexual abuse includes, and I'm sorry, it's Monday morning, but this is a fact, includes penetration with fingers, which is what Donald Trump did to her forcefully. And I am not saying allegedly, because not only do I believe my dear friend E. Jean Carroll, so did a jury, and there is nothing defamatory about me telling you what they found. That said, the jury, as you may remember, did not find him guilty, did not come to a consensus on the charge of rape, because under New York law, rape does involve penetration with a penis. Okay, sorry, it's Monday morning. And I should say without consent. I'm not giving you all the elements of rape under New York law, but I want to be clear that it is a sexual assault involving penetration with the penis. Okay, now, good morning. Take another sip of coffee. I don't know if you knew this was in store for you. Okay, so the reason why, based on my understanding of the testimony, and in particular, questions on when E. Jean Carroll was on the stand, the reason why the jury did not find beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump used his member is that she was not looking down, right? So she could not be certain that what she felt inserted inside her was his member, which is to say that do with that what you will. That's what I will say. And that is what happened. Now, let's be clear. ABC News decided this weekend to pay Donald Trump $15 million to settle this defamation suit that he brought against this news organization. Now, I'm going to discuss why I think this was a mistake, but it was in connection with a television interview George Stephanopoulos, who is the star anchor at ABC News, had said that Donald Trump had committed rape, and as a result, the network has published, and Stephanopoulos has published a statement. So he's not read this on air, but the statement says that they regret the remarks that were made during a televised interview in March. And in addition to paying this $15 million, ABC News agreed to pay $1 million toward Donald Trump's legal fees. Now, I believe I believe that this was a big mistake. I believe that not only would they have won this case on the merits, they also would have won on lack of damages. Remember that Donald Trump is a public figure, and to sue him for defamation, in this case, slander, because it was said aloud, or possibly libel, because maybe this was also considered to be written. Because he's a public figure, the standard for defamation, and the idea is that in order for someone to prevail, if they are a public figure suing for defamation as a plaintiff, they have to show actual malice, right? And actual malice, so they have to show that the statement was false and that it was made with actual malice. And actual malice means that George Stephanopoulos either knew the statement was false or showed reckless disregard for the truth that the statement was false. Now, let me tell you why I don't think on that grounds he would have lost, and that is because in July of 2023, the judge involved in the case actually said that this, and and let me just be clear, that the judge clarified that Donald Trump was found to have raped E. Jean Carroll, and this was in July of 2023. And let me just say this in the context of one of Donald Trump's lawyers had said this was a rape claim. This was a rape case all along, and the jury rejected that and made other findings, ignoring, of course, the rape, essentially the sexual abuse charge with the penetration, even if it was not his penis. Okay. Now, the judge, though, totally disagreed. There was a filing by Judge Lewis Kaplan saying that this was entirely unpersuasive. And the reason why this happened is, at any rate, let me just say that, and that Judge Kaplan said that, and I'm just going to quote Judge Kaplan, the judge in this case who presided over the case that is the subject of the settlement, the $15 million settlement. The judge said the finding that Ms. Carroll failed to prove that she was raped within the meaning of the New York penal law does not mean that she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her, as many people commonly understand the word rape. Okay. I think there could be no better witness than Judge Kaplan at this trial. But there's not going to be a trial because ABC News settled. And unbelievably, what are they going to do with that $15 million? I mean, you're not going to believe this. ABC News is planning to donate the $15 million to Donald Trump's presidential library. Okay. Now, let's move on. In addition to the fact that I believe they would have prevailed on the merits, ABC would have, and that they should have in the interest of the First Amendment, not capitulated. Let me also add for you that there are no damages in this case. Even if Donald Trump were to prove that this was that there was actual malice, which I don't believe he could, right? In order to recover money, you have to show you have to show damages, which is monetary damages, harm in some way. Explain to me, like I am a second grader, how somebody who was elected president of the United States, who I don't believe can show any financial loss, would be able to say his reputation was harmed or he suffered any monetary damages as a result of what George Stephanopoulos said. And I am waiting like a second grader to hear that. Okay, I'm not seeing it. Okay, so you see why this is a problem. And you guys, that it is absolutely crazy when even the Wall Street Journal is pointing out how companies like ABC and Walt Disney are bending the knee this week. And this is one I want to share with you. I'm not doing a cut and paste here. I feel like I need to share my screen so you can actually get what I am talking about. So let's do it. Let's do the screen share. It's one of my favorites. Okay, so let's talk about it. This is the Wall Street Journal. It's an article from Friday night by three journalists. This is not an op-ed, right? This is the news side. Let me take a sip of my coffee. I need it this morning. Okay. Headline: The week CEOs bent the knee to Trump. That is, yes, the Wall Street Journal. And let's continue. When Donald Trump arrived at the New York Stock Exchange this week for a post-election victory lap, dozens of influential executives lined up to catch a glimpse of the man who holds the future of their businesses in his hand. Who, guys, was gathered behind the velvet ropes? These were senior executives from companies including Visa, Meta, which you know is Facebook, Platforms. I have no idea what Platforms is. Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, and Citadel. And I am curious what Platforms is. So I'm going to look up Platforms real quick. Oh, I think it's Meta Platforms. I think it has something to do with Meta, but I'm not sure. Okay, so these people were there. Also, Robert Bigelow, who's a real estate and aerospace magnate, was there, as of course Bill Ackman was. Not surprising there. And he said in front of them, the economy, I believe, is going to be very strong. So there they were, lined up behind him. Now, just so you know, and this makes me utterly sick, that Mark Zuckerberg himself personally donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. That's for the big party they're going to throw on the 20th and the days leading up to it. And Jeff Bezos from Amazon said he planned a $1 million contribution. But you guys, here is the most sickening part of the story. And I have Zuckerberg's face right in front of you so that you can see the part of greatest concern to me. And that is as follows. I've got to let you know this. I'm just going to read you this paragraph. The day before Thanksgiving, Mark Zuckerberg dined with the president-elect on a patio in Mar-a-Lago. Now, this is the sickening part. At one point, Zuckerberg and other attendees stood hand over heart as the club played a rendition of the national anthem sung by, you know where this is going, imprisoned defendants who are accused of crimes related to the January 6, 2001 Capitol riot. And there was no announcement that the recording was by the choir. Also, you might remember that back in the day, in early 2021, Facebook had suspended Donald Trump's account after the riot. So that is a complete turnaround. I will say that one of the things in life I would say is don't go full MAGA, and Zuckerberg went full MAGA. He's not just obeying in advance, he is willfully supplicating himself to Donald Trump, which is yet another reason why I am not on Facebook or Threads or Instagram at all, right? Done with that, done with Twitter. I'm here and I am on Blue Sky, as you know. Now, that is the story about bending the knee. Whew. And I promise we will get then, right now, to the person who is our person of the day. And that person of the day is none other than Tim Snyder, who wrote the book on tyranny and, of course, more than that. Now, here is, I want to tell you a little bit more about Tim Snyder, and we can do that by, sharing a little more about why this man is our person of the day, Timothy Snyder. Okay, this is Tim Snyder's page, his webpage. It's easy. It's Timothy Snyder right there on the internet. And you can see that. Okay, so he is a named professor at Yale. He's 11th professor of history at Yale University. He's written several books, including Our Malady, On Tyranny, The Road to Unfreedom, Black Earth and Bloodlands. And he's even received the Literature Award for the American Academy of Arts, the Hannah Arendt Prize, and the Leipzig Book Prize for European Understanding. Now, let us do this. I'm going to his books. Obviously, On Freedom is the most recent, but On Tyranny is one of my favorites. And I'm going to now, I'm going to go to a bit of his bio, just so you know a little bit about him. In addition to those books that were written for the public, he has also written other work, obviously, in the scholarly and academic realm. He was a Brown graduate, a Marshall Scholar. He, I think I would love to take courses from him. Let me just tell you the name of a course. He teaches a class called Eastern Europe to 1914. Eastern Europe since 1914, the global history of the Holocaust, contemporary history of diplomatic crisis, communist takeovers and post-war Eastern Europe, and so on. Now, we can also look at Tim Snyder's faculty page, because I think that will give you a little bit more information. This is our deep dive into our person of the day. He is now on academic leave, which is probably good because he will be extremely busy. Okay, so that is our person of the day. And as I said, although I say do not obey in advance, like Tim Snyder said, when you listen to what Tim is saying, I don't think that counts as obeying, but you do you, ABC News. Okay, guys. Now, I have some things to share with you, obviously, and I'm going to start here with a clip, and we will talk about it on the other side.
The approach is going to be everybody toe the line. Everybody line up. We got you here, and if you want to survive, you better be good. Don't get on Santa's naughty list here, because we will primary you.
Okay, that is obviously Lisa Murkowski, senator from Alaska. She knows from which she speaks because she was primaried and still won her seat as an independent. So she knew what it meant to stand up to Donald Trump, previously a Republican, again, an independent in Alaska. And yeah, I have to say, spoiler alert, there is, on the one hand, no Santa Claus, but Santa Claus is a multi-billion-dollar business. And there's also no Donald Trump. He is nothing. He is the people around him. But again, authoritarianism is a historically successful way for kleptocrats to steal money and for sadists to act out their violent revenge fantasies. And that is where we are right now. Now, I want to do a comparison of Lisa Murkowski, who gets it, who actually has the cojones, or maybe I should say ovaries, to stand up to authoritarianism. Let's do a quick compare, shall we?
Form of defense, that's great. But Jen,
let me just say, let me just back up for a second here. I'm sorry. I just want to give you context. This is Ro Khanna, congressman from California, someone who situated himself as part of the Progressive Caucus and is now kissing any ring, it appears, that comes by. And I'm exaggerating. He is just, I feel, not handling the situation the right way. There is a way to recognize that Elon Musk is the shadow president, and there is a way to be pragmatic. And yet, I really wish, instead of doing that, he thought about what FDR did. And I think I've talked about that back in 1933. So in 1932, when Roosevelt gets elected, he wasn't going to take office until March because that's when inauguration was. And before he took office, he did not. There was a moment when Hoover was trying to reach out to him and said, should we make a joint statement? Should we do something together? And he waited. And he waited and he waited and he waited because he knew that the way to fix the country was not Band-Aids here and there and to try to give a false sense of security about the failing businesses and banks and the foreclosures. He understood that you don't do it that way. You don't patch it up. Instead, when he took office, immediately he enacted what was called a bank holiday, so to speak, which was shutting down all of the banks and only opening the ones that he found or that his people found were solvent. And then he enacted what was, until recently, and it's been chipped away at, an incredible agenda for a more equal and fair American society. And whenever the Roosevelt system has been chipped away at, including in the financial sector, we have seen crashes and disasters. Right now, the goal is to reverse everything that was done at that time. They are even talking about getting rid of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, all kinds of crazy things, rolling back all of Dodd-Frank, and so on. So let me just say, what Ro Khanna is doing that he thinks is pragmatic is actually foolish, and it is not tested. It's not tested by, Tim Snyder is an expert on authoritarianism and how to behave. I am nowhere of the league of Tim Snyder, but in my little world that I'm developing my expertise in about deregulation, especially in the banking and financial sector, and about enacting programs that lift people out of poverty and economic crisis, you do not help people who are going to destroy the poor and middle class. You step away and you let them mess shit up, and then you step in with your plan to fix it. Ro is not getting it. Okay, let me play for you his kissing up and his faux pragmatism.
Of defense, that's great. But Jen, there's a larger point here, and I have my criticisms of Musk in terms of transparency. But here's the truth. The average American, they think that someone who puts rockets up into space, that's a pretty cool thing. And the Democratic Party has to get back to being a party that celebrates building entrepreneurship, innovation, while at the same time holding people to account. Obama had that. Clinton had that. I don't think we should be a party that isn't for building the future.
No question. Innovation is good. Cutting waste is good. I think there's some understandable skepticism about Elon Musk's role, but the effort to do that is certainly one that.
Okay, I need to, guys, play how insulting this last thing he says is that when he says the Democratic Party should not be a party against building for the future, whoever said we were? Who the F ever said we were? Every Democrat I know supports unions, supports industry, supports building for the future, and also wants investment in the real economy. So what the F is he saying? Okay, let me just play that part for you so you can hear how insulting and how the premise is wrong.
Innovation is good. Cutting waste.
A party that isn't for building the future.
No.
Here we go again. Sorry.
Obama had that. Clinton had that. I don't think we should be a party that isn't for building the future.
Okay. We are a party about the future. We want to end climate change. So we have a flippin' future. I just hope this dude is primaried the hell out of his job. It is absolutely embarrassing. Okay. Now, speaking of embarrassing, I'm not sure if you have seen what has happened to a Democratic donor by the name of Lindy Lee. She was a huge donor, and she got herself pretty much got herself on every news show saying she was a supporter of the, Harris campaign. And then all of a sudden, Lindy Lee completely turned coat. Like she is the minute practically, or the day after, I should say, Harris, basically conceded that she had not won the election. Lindy Lee was suddenly on Fox News criticizing Democrats. And I don't know her personally, but I was in back in the day when I was on Twitter, I was in a group chat, and she was one of these women for Harris. And she was, often saying, I did this hit on TV. And, she was a little bit into the TV presentations, but I felt, well, this is someone who has a lot of money and has the capability to support the campaign. I knew nothing actually about her more than that. And now I come to find out that either she was a spy at the outset or she is a complete opportunist. So, this is a shame. This goes to, too much money in politics, buying access. She was never part of the campaign. She was just a big donor, but she had a big voice. And now listen to her now. You won't actually believe it. Here we go.
Interesting that it sounds to me like there's this shift. We tend to think of big tech, especially in financial tech, as being sort of right, or make that left-leaning. Is there a shift to the right happening organically?
Kevin, that's such a great point. I don't think it's just the business world. I think it's across the country. People are fed up, and they realize that Biden and Harris, they lied to us for the past 4 years about the cognitive state of our president, and they failed on immigration. The expiration of Title 42 was the original sin. Millions of migrants poured in the.
I just had to stop her. If that's what she believed, why was she one of the largest donors for the Harris campaign? I don't know exactly. I shouldn't say one of the largest, but I just feel I could look it up. I mean, I know that she is exceedingly wealthy, and she gave a ton to the Harris campaign. I can look under, there's independent spending, and then there's spending during the cycle. She is the one who actually was claiming, which isn't true, that the Harris campaign was going to be in debt. They're not now. She immediately criticized the spending of the Harris campaign. She was out before even the funeral for the Harris campaign, criticizing it and Biden. So I want to let you know, don't be like her, and be very careful of people who are utter turncoats. Now, I don't put her and Ro Khanna in the same boat, but there is something close there. There is some opportunism close in that way. Now, I got something else for you. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm in a good place with Pete.
Oh, sorry. This is Lindsey Graham. Now, oh, Lindsey, let's just play what he has to say about Pete Hegseth, right? Despite the fact that we know Pete Hegseth, who's been going to be Donald Trump's nominee to be Secretary of Defense, is unqualified for the job on its merits. Millions of people to supervise in his only supervisory positions. He was pushed out of the nonprofit for financial mismanagement and being drunk at work, allegedly. That he has a history of Islamophobia, shouting anti-Muslim sentiments when he was drunk at work, allegedly having the smell of alcohol on his breath in the morning when he was coming into Fox News, shit like that. Okay. And also entered into a settlement after a credible allegation of rape. In any other administration or any other job, he wouldn't make it off the resume pile. But in the Donald Trump administration, that's a feature, not a bug. So let's hear what good old Lindsey Graham has to say. Remember, Lindsey is senator, and he will be obviously one of the people asking questions of this of Pete Hegseth, should he actually get a Senate confirmation hearing, or he will be someone who is perfectly fine with a recess appointment, right? Lindsey, of course, as you know, is the senior senator from South Carolina, and he is on the Judiciary Committee, so he will be right there. At those hearings, should they happen. Thank you, Jaroslav. So let's play Lindsey Graham, and I will comment on the other side.
Yeah, I'm in a good place with Pete unless something I don't know about comes out. These allegations are disturbing, but they're anonymous. I asked him point blank, were you drunk in a bar, and got up and said, let's kill all the Muslims? He said no. There's one allegation in a police report about sexual assault. That person has the right to come forward to the committee. But about mismanagement of money, about having a drinking problem and saying inappropriate things. All of these are anonymous allegations. He's given me his side of the story. It makes sense to me. I believe him. Unless somebody's willing to come forward, I think he's going to get through. Remember Kavanaugh? 5 people.
Oh, my God. Remember Kavanaugh. I got to stop there. So Lindsey Graham, his position is Pete Hegseth has denied the allegations. So I believe him. So let's try this. I am denying that I have gained 10 pounds since 2022. Do you believe me? Oh, you have to believe me, because no one will come forward who will say what my scale says. Okay, guys. I mean, let's use some empirical evidence here. Let's use some fucking logic. The woman who entered into the settlement agreement, signed a non-disclosure agreement. The people who journalists have verified are real by their email addresses and their backgrounds, who just don't want to be on the record because they don't want to be destroyed by Donald Trump. For fuck's sake, ABC News just settled because they don't want to be destroyed, or they don't want George Stephanopoulos to be in a deposition. Who knows why? If these giant multinational corporations are bending the knee, you think some ordinary people want to come forward, and you think that the Kavanaugh hearing is going to be the example that anyone will ever use? My God, when Christine Blasey Ford came forward, she had to be hidden away. Threats of violence. I mean, what is he even talking about? Okay, I have got one more clip for you before we get to Crazy Town.
RFK is obviously a unique.
Okay, and let me just move this. So let's move from Pete Hegseth to RFK. Where we are headed right now is that the people supporting RFK Jr. to lead Health and Human Services are perfectly willing to do essentially a survival of the fittest, so to speak, or the wealthiest, and let children die in childhood diseases or suffer because they don't want to, I don't know, because they don't want to basically back away from the deal Donald Trump made with RFK Jr. that if he would throw his support behind the campaign, first of all, run for office to siphon off votes or throw his support behind the campaign. So they are going to stick with RFK Jr., who is apparently afraid of vaccines, despite the evidence that they have cured major diseases here and worldwide. Someone who is still to this day, although he says he is not, and I believe him, no longer a heroin user, does not regret the use of heroin, which I actually believe causes more problems than in deaths than childhood fucking vaccines. But no, here we are. Welcome to America. Sorry for swearing. I just believe in medicine and empirical studies. Let's play it.
RFK is obviously a unique and diverse choice, a longtime, lifelong Democrat, one of the major figures in the Kennedy family. Obviously, he has a lot of views that Donald Trump appreciates and supports. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump is the president in the White House, and RFK is going to work for him. And whether it's putting American agriculture first or putting our kids first, this country is ready for a big debate about vaccines and a lot of these issues related to making America healthy again. I support our.
I'm not ready for a debate, actually, about vaccines. I'm not ready for that debate. Thank you very much. Let's continue.
RFK 110% to be the new secretary, because I think he brings a lot to the job that's unique. He's going to shake up these departments. But Donald Trump's in charge. He's going to be he's the guy in the White House that's going to be in charge, and RFK is going to report to him. So
Oh my God. Okay, so this is where we are. I mean, the good news is it is only, guys, what is it? December 16th. And we have more than a month until the inauguration to enjoy our families, to get some rest, and to find one of the folks who is often here. I don't know if she's here right now in the chat, but many people are happy or feel grateful about being able to connect with people locally who are beginning to organize and find mutual support. And I think joining a local indivisible chapter makes a lot of sense, even if you don't want to be part of the so-called resistance. These are going to be people in your community there to help when Donald Trump starts bringing in, the military to drag your neighbors out of their home or your family members. I think we need friends in our local communities. And so I'm going to remind you, and I believe I can share with you no, I don't think I don't have it right here, but Indivisible, just Google Indivisible. You can find Indivisible. You can find, so you can go to indivisible.org. And you can find a chapter. I am now going to, I want to share that with you. I had a previous link before, but right now, this is what they are using as a general page. So here we are. This is where you can go. This is Indivisible. I'm going to make this a little bigger for you. This is their homepage. Again, indivisible.org. I'm clicking on, join the movement. I think you can see what I'm doing here. And then you can do find your group. And then it will tell you to put in your zip code and then you can search. So I recommend, it's not a lot of pressure. You don't have to think about Donald Trump. You can just find people in your community. We are going to need our friends and our neighbors more than ever. This is a time, find them, start up a chapter if you need to, and just know people who are within walking distance away, who might need your support. This includes friends who may have their Social Security cut. This includes others. We can be mutual support systems. And just to remind you, since I know a little bit about banking, back in the day, the reason why we had savings banks and thrifts and buildings and loans over the years before there was federal regulation of the banking industry. And then, of course, even after, they all sort of got put under the umbrella with FDIC insurance. Before that, it was called FSLIC insurance. That's neither here nor there. But what these were, what buildings and loans were, and what thrifts were, they were actually organized by people who you would become a member of the building and loan. You'd become a member of the thrift. And you'd pay a membership fee every month. And what you'd be entitled to if you paid in would be to get a loan. And then while your loan was out, you'd be paying it off every month, similar to how you were paying your membership fee. There's an upside to that. There were some downsides. The downsides were if you paid your membership fee into one of these communal thrifts or buildings and loans, if you failed to pay in a certain month or after a certain amount of time, you would be kicked out and you would lose the benefit of what you paid in. So this is not all, fun and games and utopia. But what I'm saying is these mutual aid societies were created and they were systematized, and they still exist in some immigrant communities that you may have heard about. This idea of, or families or extended families where people will share together and then loan to the other one when it's necessary. I'm not suggesting anyone do anything to cheat anyone else. Or to create a system that's unfair. But I'm saying we may need to rely on each other. And I believe if you get close to other people in communities, people you can really trust, and think about how to reach out to each other, I think that is going to be the way to go. Now, my friends, it is time for Crazy Town. And this is crazy. Okay, here we go. Okay, I know I kept you waiting, but what is Crazy Town now is the American obsession with drones. With drones that are apparently holding us under siege in America. People are freaking the fuck out. And yes, people are using drones, and that might be weird, but there are situations where there are airplanes flying overhead and people are saying they are drones. My very, very favorite is a member of Congress who was looking at Orion. The governor, Larry Hogan. Larry Hogan, if you can believe this, thought that when he was looking at the constellation Orion, he actually thought these were drones. And so let me share with you what that constellation looks like and why we actually need money. ABC should have given $15 million to the public schools instead of to Donald Trump's library. But, I guess it's not all that important for anyone to know anything anymore. So this is, if you can see it, the constellation Orion. I'm showing it to you right now. And here is another picture of Orion, right? Okay. And so we have Larry Hogan thinking that Orion was drones. So I have for you, for Crazy Town, not Larry Hogan, but Adam Kinzinger, kind of making fun of what is going on. But before I share that with you, I have to say that even the Wall Street Journal has an article about this. I cannot believe that I am at the point, although, Wall Street Journal news has always been good. It's just been the editorial page that's kind of been messed up, but I can't believe that I am at the point where I am repeatedly sharing with you Wall Street Journal stories, but here we are. Okay, so here is the piece. This is actually the editorial board. In this case, I'm sharing drones and the cost of lost trust. Conspiracy theories fly and public anger builds when Americans don't believe their government. Okay, I wonder, Wall Street Journal editorial page, why they don't believe their government. Could it be you? I don't know. Do you think you had anything to do with this? Okay. And now I will play. I will play for you Adam Kinzinger on the drone hysteria.
Blue Sky, I have to keep this under a minute. 2 quick updates. Number 1, the drone proponents are trying to shift the goalpost and say, like, no, there are drones. Yes, there are drones out there. We get it. I'm not arguing that there aren't drones. What I'm saying is every video I've seen is an airplane on the internet. Everyone I've seen. There probably are drones out there. I'm not saying there aren't. Everything I've seen is an airplane. One ABC affiliate zoomed in on Venus and called it a orb of energy. Here's the other big thing. Do you ever wonder why there are no sharp images of these UFOs or these drones? Well, here's a hint. People with the long telephoto lenses, and there's plenty of them out there right now, they zoom in on this and they see what they are. They're airplanes. They don't take a picture. But if you have your iPhone, you zoom in, all you see is this hazy orb with maybe a couple lights. It looks like a drone. So you take it, you post it on the internet. That's why there's no sharp pictures of drones, because they're planes.
Thank you, Adam Kinzinger, former congressman from Illinois. And with that, good day, everyone. Please follow the show. We are on the cusp of 8,000 people, and I will do this. I will ask you to like and subscribe, and I will also at the same time play Crazy Town. See you tomorrow morning at 8:30.